Swim check 1, 2. Bike check 1, 2. Run check 1, 2. I think we're ready. Let's try this. Welcome to the Try Beginner's Luck podcast, a podcast where we explore the sport of triathlon from a variety of perspectives to help beginner triathletes on their journey. I am your host, Mashonda Shines. Well, welcome back to another edition of Try Beginner's Luck. Yeah, we are officially your transition area for this season of whatever we're going through. It's the transition area. And so I'm excited to make sure that this space is a space where we can decompress, not distract. We are not turning a blind eye to any reality that may be happening, but we are choosing not to let it drain our battery. We're going to control the controllables and fuel the fire. And so I am excited to be able to bring to you joyful and insightful content that will make you want to keep training even when the world outside feels super chaotic. With that, I am so excited to bring to you my next guest. Access changes everything, and we know that to be true. For many of us, triathlon was not something that we grew up with. It was not offered in school. It wasn't a part of collegiate athletics. And it just simply was not visible. Now, our next guest did not discover multisport until her 40s. And now she is passionate about making others have access sooner rather than later. Her introduction to sport is interesting because it started with curiosity and a little bit of confusion. She thought triathlon only meant swim, bike, run. So when she went to her first event and heard them announce a triathlon and it wasn't those three sports, she was a little bit confused, and I probably am as well. But that curiosity turned into intrigue after she watched women around her racing, training, and showing up boldly. And after some serious FOMO, fear of missing out, at one race, she decided she wanted to tap into that. And so she did just that. The only problem was doggy paddling was not going to carry her through open water. So she did what she needed to do, took lessons, and spent a full year learning the proper technique alongside her youngest daughter. Imagine learning how to swim with your child. That is a whole different thing, but that is also what makes this so special. She knew how to survive in the water, but she didn't have the confidence, and she was able to build that. Colorado Springs is where she got her start, where she met her tri-coach, where she bought her first bike, got the gear, and set the goal. Can you imagine not knowing how to swim, but learning how to swim? And then in 40 degrees is where you first do your first swim in freezing water and air? Yeah, for many of us, that would have turned us around, but not this guest, because she was not going to quit. But she was, in fact, hooked because she wanted to improve and to get better. And she did just that. She's experienced the highs of sport as well as the lows, the growth and the grit. Alongside this, she also works as an Arbonne representative where she focuses a lot on wellness. She continues to champion the idea that multisport should be accessible to anyone who is willing to try. You know I love that. Her story reminds us that it's never too late to start, never too late to learn, and never too late to surprise yourself. It is an honor and it is a pleasure to welcome the one, the only, the beautiful Tammy Dotson to the Try Beginner's Luck podcast. Welcome, Tammy.
Girl,
How
I
you
feel like I'm
doing?
coming through. I feel like I'm coming through the finish line, and you out there announcing. I'm like, go ahead, hey! What them
Hey,
kids do?
hey.
Hey!
It's all for you. I think that's becoming like my signature is really giving great introductions because I think it matters how you're introduced. If you are, let's just use a podcast, for example. That introduction to you, to me, I'm like, oh, I'm just saying words, but to you, you're embodying it. And it's releasing nervousness. It's making you feel at home. It's making you feel welcome. And honestly, I think it's my purpose. Like I am gifted with my words and I love the power and the gift of encouragement that God has blessed me with. And it's only right for me to share that with others and not to just hold it in. And oftentimes we don't know how many people don't get spoken to well often. And so I want to change that. And I can do that one episode at a time, one introduction at a time, when I'm calling people across the finish line, one person at a time, when the names are not flying up when the names are not flying through the computer. But that is my joy and it is an honor. So thank you. And I'm glad that you received it well.
No, I appreciate it. It is definitely your gift.
Yeah. Speaking of, so I met you probably when I first started doing uh, age group nationals as a younger member of the team, a newer member, I shouldn't say younger, but a newer member of that team. And when I saw you, I was like, who is this bold, beautiful Black woman out here rocking it? Because prior to coming to age group nationals, I was one of those who really didn't understand USA Triathlon, the rules. I didn't understand age group nationals. I didn't even know it existed. And to see at the time the handful of people of color was alarming to me. But you just bold, like the head shaved, like you walked with confidence. I said, okay, that's somebody who knows how to shine. I want to know all about starting after 40. You've been in the military, you went to Howard, you have lived some life.
Yes. So what part do you want to know? Because
I'm
I got
trying to
stories
decide
to
that right
tell.
now because there's so many different ways that we can go through. I want to start with, I guess, that moment of being at Age Group Nationals. And what was that like for you, being one that started in your 40s and to be competing at a high level, which is the Olympics for age groupers? Like, Age Group Nationals is the pinnacle for age group athletes before they go on to Worlds. What was that like for you? And was that your first time being there?
So for me, naivety won because I didn't know anything. How I got to age group nationals was that I would say it's a complete fluke, but reality is we know that uh, and I'm a person of faith. I'm a Christian, and so we know that God puts us in places when we're supposed to be there for a reason. I didn't know anything about age group nationals. I qualified at one of our local triathlons where there were only 4 people in my age group, but I came in third place. And so what I didn't know is that was a qualifier for age group nationals. I got an email talking about you've qualified, you're eligible to go. I was like, okay, this sounds big. This sounds important. I'm gonna sign up. And so I did that really with no expectations, just treating it like another triathlon. And I got there, and surprisingly, I ran into a couple of people that I knew. Um, but when I saw you out there announcing, I was like, whoa, who is that? He is awesome. Now, one of the things I like to do is I'm a speaker and I like to do MC. And what you did that day is you showed Black excellence in such grace and beauty. You had energy that whole time.
Mm.
And it's when you go to race to race to race to race, you hear the same voice. You hear the same type of voice. And so you were a different voice and you brought a different energy. And I was just like, I got to meet this person. I got to meet her and just encourage you. Talk about what a great job you were doing. I mean, and you gave every single person at the start and at the finish, you hyped them up.
Mm. Thank you. That means a lot. Yes, thank you. I'll say that. So that was your first time at Age Group Nationals. Wow.
It was. I had no idea what to expect. It and I'm trying to remember. I can't a lot of the times it runs together because this was in Milwaukee,
Hmm.
trying to bring my bike. I think that's actually like the first time that I traveled with my bike. And there were so many issues that I encountered with it not showing up until like right before the race. Like you said, USA Triathlon Age Group Nationals. Again, I didn't know what it was. People were like, "You got to nationals?" And I was, yeah. I didn't see it as a big deal. I just saw it as another race.
Mm.
I took that same mentality there with me, where I'm just like, I'm just here having fun. Like I'm not competitive. I'm not. I just don't want to be last. Like second to last, I'm okay. I just don't want to be dead last. And and so there were people there that were very competitive, and that's something that was very serious to them. And I quickly realized that as I showed up in transition, and I'm kind of just I'm lollygagging, I'm chill. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, how's it going? And people were like locked in, trying to get ready for a race that means a lot to them.
you're right. It's a different atmosphere for sure because there are people who, again, like I said, this is the Olympics. You're competing against everyone around the country, not just in your area, not just your state, their state championships, but this is nationals. And so when you see athletes come across, and for those who have been in the pipeline and ecosystem for a while, you start to learn each other. You start to learn who your competition is. You start to see who they are. And when they arrive and they're talking and engaging, the focus is like none other. And I would say that I've been to a lot of races, and I do think there's a different energy. And it's not a bad energy, it's just that morning, it's very focused. But then when you get to the start line, it's like you're excited again. Like you've gotten your pre-gaming out the way and you are ready to go. The start areas are, energizing you and getting you ready before you get off the dock. And it really is a good environment. And I would say the whole weekend, just the way it's laid out, it just breeds growth, especially if you're coming in from a standpoint of not knowing. You can't help but leave that weekend wanting more and wanting to see yourself there again. So, my question to you is, how has that opportunity changed the way you approach sport and just life in general?
Ooh, what I will say about the sport of triathlon, and it was definitely evident at age group nationals, you do get to know the people that are in your age group. You do get to, you're racking with them. You happen to see them, especially if you go to age group national year after year. There's a certain people that you just tend to always see. And everybody is so helpful. Everybody's free to, people are running around in transition. Hey, I need, does anybody have goggles? I remember you put a shout out, we have so and so here that needs a pair of goggles. Who's going to help this person out? And I think like 4 or 5 people came up and brought goggles. If somebody gets, except when you're racing, but you get a flat, a lot of times people will help you. When you're in transition, everybody's like helping everybody. And even when you're in the corral, getting ready to go to swim, that's when, nerves are high, anxiety is high, and just the encouragement that everybody gives. And so what that has taught me, especially coming from an environment in the military where everything is cutthroat and every person is for themselves, and it's all about, I can't give you this information and I can't give you that because I don't want you to be better than me because I'm competing with you, and all of that. Coming from that environment and then coming into an area where people are just helpful. They're helpful, they're encouraging. It just, it changed my whole outlook. And I would even say kind of softened my heart a little bit. And that, of course, has carried over into life itself, in business and in my personal life.
I want to lean into that softening your heart a little bit because gatekeeping is a real thing and it's softening your heart, and yet accessibility is also one of your things. And so, can you say how it softened your heart a little bit?
Uh, just with being, I guess, more giving. There were a lot of people that poured into me in the beginning of my triathlon days. I'm telling you, I wasn't an easy I wasn't an easy student.
What?
Swimming was very hard for me. And it's still something to this day that I have to continuously work on it. And the thing about swimming is it's just one little thing, like body position, or your head, the position of your head, or your hips not being up. It's one tiny little thing that if you fix it, it totally changes your swim. And so I went from coach to coach. I went from lesson to lesson, trying to get people to help me learn how to swim because I did not. I had I don't want to say it was a tradition, but traditionally I would be the last person out the water. And my goal every race was if I could just move one position ahead, just one position ahead, just one position ahead. That became my goal because we know that the swim sets the pace for pretty much the entire race. And I knew the bike I was okay. I knew the run I was okay. But if I don't make it past that first step, that first stage, if I don't get out to swim, nothing else happens. Learning how to really just encourage other people and be able to pour into other people freely, share knowledge freely. Everybody loves to be able to be in that position where they're no longer the rookie, right? So when other people show up at races, then I can be like, hey, yeah, we got to do this, we got to do that, and showing them the ropes. That is what I'm talking about, being able to kind of just soften the heart and just being more giving in that area.
I would have to agree with you. And I love the fact that, you had that experience of so many people pouring into you. What I didn't believe is and you didn't say it this way, this is maybe how I heard it, were more difficult when it came to swimming and had to really, work through a couple of different coaches. At least that's how I heard it when you were presenting. And I'm like, no, not you. Because you come from a background in terms of a military background of being able to receive instruction well or having to take instruction well. So I'm like, not you being given the coaches a hard time. I can't believe that. Um, but you're right. Alignment is everything in swimming. I do believe that this sport, when people aren't kind and when people are not nice and giving, it really, to me, says somebody helped you in this. You cannot not try and not be helped. I hope that makes sense. It's just impossible. Like, and sometimes people don't, they're not reciprocal of the graciousness, but in most times people are. And that's the one unique identifier that really makes triathlon so special. And what most people say is the community, how people are so giving. And that really is a real thing. Tammy, you're in like the Tampa Bay area, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
so you're saying that, but then there might be somebody in California, in Washington State, me in DC, somebody in New York. And that is one of the clear fabrics of what makes triathlon so special. So for whoever's listening, I'm just saying, once you get in, you're in. It is truly a family oriented, but just like in family, you got your one-offs. You know what I'm saying? You got your familial situations that you. I just thought about it that way.
I'm
Just
the black sheep. That's me.
really.
Yes. I am the black sheep of the family. Absolutely.
Well, we have a lot of different sheeps and a lot of different things, but it's just like that. So in its moment, it just made me think about like triathlon is like a family, and just like in families, we do have real problems, real issues, real things we have to deal with. But generosity is typically not one of those 99 problems that we got to deal with because people are very generous. Let's take it back a little bit. I want to go back now to your first experience because I feel like your first experience was sort of traumatic. Like 40 degrees in the water, you're new to swimming. Like at least they could have warmed up the lake or wherever you swim in the body of water to at least 65. Like they weren't being generous in that regards. Tell us about your first race.
So my first race was in Colorado. And when you arrive somewhere and the lake is steaming, like you see steam coming up off the lake was warmer than what the air temperature was outside. So I think the lake was probably it was in maybe the 60s. And outside it was like 40 something. Choppy, it was choppy. I was so nervous to get in that water because what people don't tell you is when your body hits that shock will send you into hyperventilation if you're not careful. And so being in open water, because I've never practiced in open water. That was like literally my first experience. And I had to get myself in the mindset of this is no different than going to the beach. This is no different than going to the beach.
Thank you for clarifying about the air temperature in the water. I don't know where I got that from in terms of it being super cold, but your first time at your race was the first time you was in the open water? Oh, interesting. Say more. We're listening.
Yeah, I had never swam in open water before. Not like swim. Now I'm a beach person. I love me some beach. And like I said before, I could get in the water and I knew how to swim to survive, but I didn't have the stroke technique. I got in that water. First of all, the shock of when you get in, like literally takes your breath away. And so I had to, okay, get my breathing, face my breathing, face my breathing, face my breathing. And they're shouting, go, 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 go. Like you have to go. It's not like you can just get in the water and stand still. You got to move. There was a kayaker that stayed with me the entire time. And I think, again, I didn't know anything about race rules, didn't know about time limits, didn't know anything about that. I got in and I know it took me a good hour to do, I want to say it might have been 750 meters, because it was a sprint try. But I know it took me 47 minutes to get through that water. And there are so many times like literally, I told the guy next to me, just take me. I just want to go back. Like I learned you can't, once you get in the water, there's only one direction you can go. You cannot turn around and go back because I tried. And they were like, no, you have to go. The only way you can come back is if somebody, like, I guess, picks you up and takes you back. I told the kayaker so many times, I want to go. I can't do this. I can't do this. And he was so encouraging. He was like, you are not getting out this water. I'm going to be with you by your side the whole time. You got this. And the encouragement and the push that he gave, even coming up with the strategy, right? Just swim a little and then take a break. Swim a little and take a break. But he literally stayed with me the whole time. And I made it through. But it was freezing. I got out. I couldn't feel my hands. And I already suffer from Raynaud's. So no feeling in my hands, no feeling in my toes, trying to run to get to transition and change clothes when you can't feel anything. It was an adventure, quite the adventure. But I finished. And from there, I was like, I'm going to do this again. But that's typical for how we are, right? We go through something and we're like, this is it. While we're doing it, we're like, why am I doing this? This is so crazy. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And then as soon as we get to the finish line, okay, when's my next one?
That is true. It's a healthy sickness. I don't know what to call it.
I was gonna say addiction.
That's it. That's the better
Yeah.
word. It's a healthy addiction. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Um, so your first transition, you can't feel your hands, you can't feel your feet. What was the bike like for you? And at some point, did you thaw out a little bit so that you could run? Was the bike, because there's different distances with the sprint distance, so it can range from 9 to 15 miles. Tell us the details about the bike, your T2, and then the run.
So I would have to go back and look to get the specifics, but I want to say the bike was probably like 13 miles, maybe 13-ish. But yeah, of course, when I got to transition, nobody was there, completely empty. Got my bike, struggled getting getting the shoes on. But no, had no feeling in my feet, no feeling in my hands, riding the bike. It was windy outside. So you have this cold wind that's like whipping at you. I don't remember anything being too traumatic on the bike. I had an aluminum, kind of starter bike, did the job. I do remember as I was coming out, though, there were people that were already coming in to do their run. So that was like fascinating to me because I'm like, wow, okay. On the bike course, I was pretty much by myself the whole time. And all I could think about is I hope I don't, the same thing, which is funny. The same thing I think about every time I'm on a triathlon race is I hope I don't get a flat. I hope I don't get a flat because truth be told, right, just like with driving, you learn how to do a flat, but if it's not something you do all the time, you're out of practice. And so every time I'm out there, I'm like, oh, I just hope I don't get a flat. I hope I don't get a flat. Made it through the bike, came back, and for the run, still couldn't feel my feet. It was a 5K, knocked it out because at the time, running was my thing. So I'm a runner turned triathlete. And so the 5K, I was just like, oh, I'm gonna knock this out, no problem. Uneventful.
All right. So after this first race, you were like, I'm gonna be back, but you wanted to come back with a vengeance. What changed after your very first race once you had a moment to sit, to think? What changed for you?
I think like with everything, once your first one is always just this fear of the unknown, right? You don't know what you don't know. And so after having experienced it the first time, I'm like, okay, now I understand it a little better. And so at that point in time, that's when, I belonged to a training program, or actually I got introduced to a training program, and then started doing that. And so built a little more structure, learned a little more just about how, the different tricks of the trade, some of the ways you can set things up in transition to make things easier. I started learning some of the game, but I got serious about, okay, I want to do better. This is what it was like. I knew where my weak areas were, and then just went to work, figuring out how I can do better.
And what a part of that work, what was the significant difference that made you like click? I'm trying to go somewhere with this. Like you said, I need help. And so what did you do to get better? Did you download new training plans? Did you join a group? Like what was it that allowed you to get to work?
That's when I joined a community. So the first community that I ever joined was the one that brought me into triathlon to begin with. Is a group of women that they just do some phenomenal things. And just like with anything, right? When you complete a marathon, now you're part of a certain group. And so now that I had actually completed a triathlon, I could officially call myself a triathlete. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm a triathlete. And I did. I joined. We didn't have anything local, but there were some people that I would connect with to go ride and everything. Well, actually, yeah, Trianimals was the first group that I had actually joined, the first community, because that's where my coach came from. And so I would do some things with them, but it really became about listening to triathlon podcasts, which there were not very many at the time, and asking questions, finding people. I probably in the FastChix group that I was in, if you go back and do a search, there were so many questions that I had in the beginning. And that's when I go back and I say, I'm really appreciative to the people that took the time to answer questions, because I had a lot of them, a lot from the bike. What do I put on the bike? Just a lot.
Hmm. So you got connected in community, you got you a coach, and then what was next for Tammy Dotson? When did you increase in distance? And what distances have you covered?
So I went from the sprint, and then I was 17. Yeah. So then in 18, I was challenged. The FastChix group, they were going to have a meetup, and it was at, I want to say it was Rev Tri
Oh, in
Williamsburg.
Williamsburg.
Yes, Rev Tri. Were you there?
I was, and I don't remember seeing you. That
I don't need. So
wow.
that was my first Olympic. So I bet if we go back, were you there at the dinner the Friday night?
Was that the year that Sika Henry was there, or they had like a panel
I
discussion?
I think that was the next year. So the first year we did a get together. I want to say at a pizza place, because we all had to bring like a lip gloss, and then they did a lip gloss exchange. Or actually, we gave on lip gloss, because
No.
that was her thing. So we had a social Friday night, and then Saturday, because I think it was a whole weekend thing. I know some people were doing the sprint, but that was my first Olympic. That was the first time I did the Olympic distance. And I got a training plan. And at the time, I was still marathon training also. And so I wanted to do what I didn't realize at the time was that the triathlon training plan actually helped me with my marathons, because I had some of the best marathon times. Yeah, I think I pretty much got all of my PRs that year. But yeah, so I trained. I think I got a training plan online, because at this time I was moving from Colorado to Florida, and I was in Virginia going to school for a 3-month period, and that's when the Rev Tri happened. But yeah, I trained and completed the Olympic. And so from there, I got ambitious, and I'm like, yeah, because everyone's like, if you do an Olympic, you can do a half. If you, especially when it comes to the swim, right? They're like, it's not that far. If you can do an Olympic, you can do a half, a 70.3.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, I'm easily swayed. Okay, I'm that person that has bought everything on infomercials, everything that was ever advertised. Like I'm an easy sale. People see me come and they were like, "Oh yeah, she's a sucker. I can get her." I I'm easily swayed, and so I let them talk me into doing a 70.3. My first 70.3 was Gulf Coast, Ironman Gulf Coast, and I DNF'd, but I didn't feel bad because the swim was actually like red flag conditions. There's no way we should have been out there. The waves were the waves were taking people out right and left. But I was like, I'm not leaving. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I ended up, I think I only had 800 meters left before they took me in because I ran out of time. So I DNF'd, but it was only because I didn't complete it in the time. But of course, since that was a DNF, I had to go back and try again. Next year, I think that's when we went into COVID. And whichever 70.3 I was supposed to do got canceled, which I think it was Gulf Coast, got canceled. And then being in Florida, things were opening up faster than other places.
Yeah, I was never
And
closed.
yeah, we
Okay,
closed for
sorry.
30 days. We closed for 30 days. But yes, things opened back up faster than anywhere else. And Challenge Daytona was happening. And so that actually ended up being my first 70.3.
Nice. Nice. Okay. Okay. So you said a lot in that period. Like you went from Williamsburg, which I don't think I was at the very first one, but I did do the second and third time, to your first 70.3. And the one thing you said is that your Olympic training set you up for success with marathon, and you received all your marathon PRs. I know you're still training because you're at Marine Corps and you did Marine Corps last year. Do you still think that the training, swim, doing the tri training is as helpful as it was back then as it is today?
Absolutely. As we get older, so the training I use TriDot. That's the training plan that I use. It has been wonderful with getting me through my races, but it's geared to have you train and prevent injury. So as we get older, right, we don't recover as fast as we used to. And so my whole goal is to be able to do a race and make it to the finish line without injury. So the tri training, because you're essentially you're cross training is what you're doing. And so I'm able to train for a marathon without actually putting in all the mileage on my feet. So the swimming gives you the cardio, gives you the endurance,
Mm-hmm.
and then the cycling is your cross train piece. Your legs are getting stronger because cycling is really about power. And what that does is that translates into a better run time.
So here we are PRing because we have learned to appreciate and embrace the tri life. That's a whole message that people should realize. So if you're out here running marathons and you have been tri curious, this is the testament that you need to come on over to the bright side, the tri side, the only side. I'm just saying, just a shameless plug for us triathletes to get more people who love to try and build this community. Wellness is a part of all of this. So tell us your stint in wellness and when did it become like your thing that you wanted to focus on?
I've always been into holistic care, uh, learning to handle things more holistically. I mean, our body is a system, and a lot of times in traditional medicine, you get the symptom treated, but you never get to the root, and that's a whole message for something else. But when you start taking care of literally from the inside out, it changes. So for me, I actually really got serious about health and wellness when I got introduced to Vitamix. When I got introduced to Vitamix, and then I started making smoothies all the time. That kind of became my thing, is smoothies. Getting older, injury prevention becomes crucial if you want to be able to do stuff. Mm. But for me in particular, I have a lot of medical complexities that all have to be managed. I have some autoimmune disorders, migraines. A lot of people don't realize I had brain surgery. Right before I went and did, was training for the full marathon, I had a craniotomy in 2022. And from that, having to regain coordination and balance and all of that was it was very intense going through kind of the rebuilding process. Without the proper nutrition, and a lot of times I had to learn this. You'll hear people say that in triathlon, there's several disciplines. You have your swim, your bike and run, but you also have your nutrition and you have your recovery. If you don't do those two things, you can swim, bike and run all you want, but your body is not going to love you if you don't fuel it properly, give it the right nutrition, and then do the right recovery. So I would say it was a force of nature that really got me into wellness the way that I have.
Thank you for sharing. No, I did not know. And I know people who might be listening might not have known about you having brain surgery. And I think that's important to identify, and how that has helped to elevate why wellness is so important, so that you can do what you love. And that's even after being in triathlon for a few years. And so that's considered having a medical setback in order to be set up for other things and greater things, right? I see this book behind you called Shine Through the Storm, and I'm like, oh, yes, yes. I love a good shine because, my name is Michonda Shines. It's what I do. So is that where Shine Through the Storm came from, through going through in 2022, having brain surgery, having to regain mobility, take better care of yourself? Is that where that stemmed from? And please share more with us about that experience in your book.
Yeah, in the book, I just briefly talk about a lot of different things. Being diagnosed with alopecia when I was young, losing my hair, going around really with that self-consciousness until I got to the point in probably 2022, and decided to shave my hair, which, by the way, was the most liberating feeling ever. But going through different medical complexities, being a single mom, job transitions, all of these different little, I say little, but they're not, but these different roadblocks or obstacles that come into our path in life. How do we navigate them? And how you navigate them really determines how you get through it. Do you look at it as a setback, or, like you said, a setup? And once I got to the mindset of there's something on the other side, this is not an obstacle, it's an opportunity to grow and learn and become better and stronger. And this is not for me. Everything that I go through is for somebody else. Once I really locked into that mindset, it was a storm, but we all know after the storm, the sun's going to shine. We just got to get through the storm. So shine it's really an acronym for spread hope, inspiration, and encouragement. And so, like you said, your McCanda shines. Sorry, McCanda shines.
You were right. It was Smashonda.
Mashonda shines. I'm laughing at myself trying to pronounce the ch.
It's my
But
parents. They
yeah,
blame them.
but well, we're not even going to talk about names. That's a whole nother try. That's a whole nother podcast. But that became my business name. And so now everything I do, I try to look at it through the lens of spreading hope, inspiration, and encouragement. Learning to tell my story, learning to share my story so that it can help somebody else.
Mm. Sharing hope, inspiration, and encouragement. I like that. I like that a lot. Um, I like that a lot because I think so many people need it because, you can go through a traumatic period of life and become very cynical. You can become pessimistic, depressed, and it really is how you have the mindset and have that mindset shift. And I'm curious to know, like, you are spreading hope, inspiration, and encouragement to others. How has that mindset shift allowed you to come back and be a stronger athlete?
When you're fueled by seeing others succeed or watching others improve or helping others get to their finish line, it innately makes you want to do better. Now there's always that inner competitive side, right? I want to, for me, it still is being driven by I don't want to be I don't want to be last. And as long as I can increase one slot, whether that means there's somebody slower that comes into the age group or I get faster. I just want to be able to go up that one slot. That's what that's what triathlon does though. I mean it pushes you to want to do better. I mean, I don't think you're going to find anybody in the sport that does it and doesn't want to get better. When we reach that time, then that's when we know it's no longer for us. But as long as the passion is still there to get better, uh, I can't say that I have the desire to, get a bid or a slot or something like that. It would be great to go to Hawaii, which, by the way, I've actually done Kona before I knew anything about triathlon or what Kona was. You talk about a circle moment. My very first marathon was the Kona Marathon, which is the run course for the Ironman Championship. I can go back now and look at the picture at my finish line and it has all of that. But again, I didn't know what that was. I didn't know the significance of it. I just knew that was my first marathon. So I thought that was wild, is that I didn't know in 2006 when I did my first marathon that I would eventually end up in the world of triathlon. I thought that was funny. But
Who
no,
doesn't love
I
a
don't
good
know.
full circle moment?
Yeah. Um, Now for me, it's a time thing, and that's when you're in triathlon, it really is how can I get better? And the only way that really that if you get better, like I do the same. There's one race that I will do every year, same course, same swim. Although you never know what kind of weather you're going to get, which impacts the swim, and it really is comparing from year to year. How did I do on this? How did I do on that? How did I do on this? How did I do on that? So that competition within myself,
I love
that's really
that.
what pushes.
I love that. That self motivation will do something for you if you use it in a really um, good way. How do you define success now for you? Because you said a couple of different things and you're competitive within yourself, but I know just by talking to you, that's not the only thing because success is probably very different. And so, what would you say for you now? um, would be how you define your success in sport today.
Making it to the finish line. that that is truly, when you think about all the things that could go wrong during a race. I have I consider myself extremely blessed to have not had a bike accident yet, to have been able to finish, to be able to still swim despite everything. That's, for me, that's what success is. Getting to the start line, because that is a whole challenge in and of itself, getting to the start line, but then getting through the finish line. Every race, that's the goal.
Amen to that. You know, the bike is one of those things that you can be on it, and if you're like me, just praying the whole time, like, okay, keep me upright on this bike. To your point, no flats, no this, and getting through the finish line. Those are good metrics for just having success and being able to walk yourself across the finish line or run yourself across the finish line or get to the finish line, however um, it's possible. Oh my gosh, I've been talking so much that I haven't paid attention to like the time. And I don't know if you can see the way the sun is shining, baby. Listen,
It's
we have
hitting
been
the
having
look,
some great days in the district, and
it's hitting, that light's hitting just
it
right
is
too, though.
hitting. I've tried to, I've been trying to move out its way, and it's like, no, we're going to let you catch this light. So I am going to not run away from the light. I'm going to lean into
Mm.
all this shine because it is a real thing. And maybe I need some of that vitamin D, but it has been one of those things where it's been so gray. And we've had temperatures that have been in the single digits. And you would be surprised that it's 39 degrees and feels like spring. And we're like, oh, people out there with no jackets on. It is wild to see that 39 degrees can feel like springtime in this good February season. So, yeah, it's a real thing. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. If you had one thing you wanted to tell um, a beginner, or what would you tell your beginner self now, knowing what you know now? That's the question I want to ask.
For me, it's really about the community.
Hmm.
I would say get plugged in to a community with like-minded people and find you that accountability partner. For me, I know that made all the difference. When I had somebody that was calling me every, in the morning, Saturday mornings for those long rides, and there was a group of us that would go out there and do it, it was a world of difference than getting out there and doing it by myself. I would tell somebody, don't try it alone, try together. It makes such a difference. And that, going forward, that's one of the things really that I want to evolve more in, is building those connections, building those relationships, and really having it be that family. And a lot of times the family that people don't have and desire. So I would say get locked in. You can always do the physical piece, right? You can always do the training. We've
Hmm.
lost so many people in the tri community. When you can hear about a tragedy that happens, and you can be like, well, I knew that person, or I swam with that person. We all know that we're not promised tomorrow. And it just makes the emphasis on building relationships that much more urgent.
Agreed. And thank you for sharing. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Community is important, and having a tribe is even. within the community is even greater. And the beautiful part is we don't have to try alone. So plug in, tap in, and be in community with others. Tammy, this has been great. We got one more little part, rapid fire, but this time I'm gonna do a little something different. I feel like you liked black sheep back in the day. You said you were a black sheep. So instead of doing regular rapid fire, we're gonna say this or that, because you can get with this or you can get with
Or you can
that.
get with that.
So since you brought a black sheep, being the black sheep of your family, I figured let's bring some black sheep into this mix. And let's do some this or that situations. Are you ready?
I'm ready, ready, ready. I'm ready,
Let's
ready,
go.
ready.
Open
Here's the black
water or
sheep.
pool?
The black sheep. Cool.
Early morning workouts or evening sessions?
Early morning.
Coach or self-coach?
Coach.
Pre-race nerves or post-race glow?
Post-race glow.
Indoor trainer or outside ride?
Outside ride.
Protein shake or real food first?
Real food.
New gear or new PR?
Ooh. New PR.
Oh, okay. Playlist or silence?
Oh, playlist.
Beginner mindset or competitive fire?
Beginner mindset.
My girl. And the last question, do you pee on the bike or get off and take a proper pee break? Ooh. Ooh.
Pee on the bike.
Hey, because you can get with this or you can get with
You can
that.
get with that.
But you're getting right here with this because this is Try Beginner's Luck, and that's where it's at. Hey, I got a little run.
Hey, look at that. Go ahead. Here's the black sheep. Here's the black sheep. What?
Hey. Well, thank you so much again. Look, I forgot how to end the close. You know we have this saying on Try Beginner's Luck. Whenever you try, you always win, and we know that to be true. If you love your friends, you should share this with them. You should go follow us. You should like us. You should want to see us grow, but also want to see them grow and try. This is a podcast where we can encourage others to try, and sometimes we get that by hearing other stories that resonate with us. So be sure to do that. And for right now, we got one more week left in February, Black History Month. I'm excited about all the guests I've had on, from G, Tex, and Dr. Rogina to Stuart Shine. Last week, we're bringing the shine to this week with Tammy Dotson. And oh, you got to be prepared for next week. We'll see. But tune in. Wednesdays is when the episodes drop. And until next time, peace. My name is Mashonda Miles, also known as Mashonda Shines, and we are out. Bye, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode. We need your help so we can continue to try at TBL. So for more information on where you can find and subscribe to this podcast, visit www.trybeginnersluck.com. And don't forget, whenever you try Beginner's Luck, you always win.